What's up, everyone? It's a surprise bonus edition of Dodgers Territory. My voice does not sound like Alana Rizzo's. Scotty Braun with half of the dynamic duo, Clint Pasillas, with us right now, and then also Scott Geirman joining us back on the show, probably leading in appearances at this point, as we appreciate having you on here, Scott, and make sure you check out all of his work as he hosts video pods and writes for Dodger Blue. So great to have you on right at the jump here. How you doing, man?
Doing pretty well. It's an exciting day. This was I would say, a long time coming just because of how much chatter and how many different directions the Dodgers could have gone. If it didn't go as well as it did, we'd be having a different conversation, but I'm doing well.
Good. We're about to jump into it. Before the ticket, Clint, great to host a show with you like this for the first time. And I'll start with a fun comment because I just hosted 80 million hours of Foul Territory. And one of my favorite comments of the day was someone talking about how they were going to do some type of drinking game, like a shot for every trade the Dodgers make. And they check in hours later and they're like, I'm so sober. And we're like, hold up. And then we were trying to talk them into like a real strong drink at the buzzer with the Flaherty move. We'll get to Flaherty, but I just figured you'd like that comment.
Yeah, if you look at the totality of the trade deadline, this person should be pretty messed up because the Dodgers made a lot of moves. So I'd say let's talk about it now. Let's get into that big ticket.
Let's do it. All right, so let's go over all the trades that the Dodgers make over the last few days. Obviously, Jack Flaherty is the headliner and towards the buzzer of the deadline, but also let's not forget about Tommy Edman and Michael Kopech in that wild 3-team deal with the White Sox and the Cardinals. Ahmed Rosario is back because why not? And Kevin Kiermaier can really pick it out there. He struggled with the bat so far this year. But Clint, why don't you kick it off and then Scott G, you can follow.
Yeah, everybody, I felt if this team does not go out and get Jack Flaherty, I said to you guys just before we went live, I'm pretty sure it would have been pitchforks and torches. Dodgers fans would have not been happy without getting Flaherty, especially after the last two deadlines this team has endured. This fan base hasn't endured. But as Scotty G, I'm going to steal some of his thunder here. The stars kind of aligned for this Dodgers team, for Andrew Friedman and company to pick arguably, not even arguably, the best starting pitcher that was technically available because Skubal was not going to get traded. Crochet, we learned, thanks to our friend Ken Rosenthal not getting traded, and I think he kind of made himself untradeable. So now the Dodgers just give themselves so many cards to play with, so much what Dave Roberts loves, optionality on the roster. But I don't want to dive too much into it. Let's give some more reaction here. Scott, what do you like about Flaherty and this hodgepodge of pieces coming back to LA?
So a question that, Jeff Spiegel, another host from Dodger Blue, again, it's great to have you be back on here. It's a fun day. Heading into today, with the moves that the Dodgers made yesterday, bringing in Tommy Edman, Michael Kopech, and bringing Ahmed Rosario back for the second year to the Dodgers, those moves on their own signaled to me that from what I've seen, and a lot of people in chat that have tuned in to Dodger Blue and watched me on my thoughts on the approach towards the deadline, is that the floor of the bench has been so much lower than it has been in recent years. So bringing that up was something that it just felt like an absolute need. And the way that they attacked it, and Andrew Friedman going straight that route and understanding we're getting players with a solid baseline that you can have it, just like you said, Clint, some optionality, versatility, and players where in the back of the baseball card says they are, going to fit right in and you know exactly who they are. Today spelled everything going ahead and getting a starting pitcher. And it was if Garrett Crochet wasn't going to be there, then Jack Flaherty was the number one option for me. And it played exactly out like that.
Yep.
Yeah, and Flaherty has been pitching like a 1 for anyone that hasn't been watching him since the Tigers, are not great this year. There were some thoughts that maybe the Tigers would be good in 2024. It hasn't happened. They're not a terrible team, but they're just not there yet. And the Skubal talk was BS. We shot that down weeks ago on Foul Territory. Yeah. I think that was, certain insiders kind of hearing from execs that wanted to find out what it would cost to get someone like that. It's worth finding out what the asset's worth, but that was never going to happen. This was a must for Detroit. And of course, you look at the rotation now, and yes, some of the comments coming in here on DT, and you got to like having a guy that could pitch game 1 for you in the playoffs. Dodgers probably are not going to have him pitch game 1. But you're getting a number 1 playoff starter. He's had troubles. Like last year, he was not the same dude yet, right? You saw flashes, and then he faded late. He had not pitched much the prior 3 years. The Orioles kind of knew there was a high risk. And this time around, you're getting the best version of Jack Flaherty. And I would even say it's a more polished version than what you had years back when he was a Cy Young contender. So maybe the stuff's a little bit less than what it was in his, quote, prime. But you're essentially getting prime Jack Flaherty, joining now a Dodgers organization that knows how to, take the best advantage of a pitcher and play it out in a rotation. I'm a huge fan, obviously, as you can tell, of what they just put together here. We might as well bring this up, too. I saw this tweet as we were talking from John Shea, and I think we have it. John covers the Giants. Giants fans can not be pleased with what went down over the past few days. It's a confusing time period. I always hate when you're a fan and you don't really understand what your franchise is telling you. They were telling you they're competing to start the season. They've had an underwhelming year, but they're not out of it. They definitely have some work to do. Yet they trade away Alex Cobb today. They traded away Jorge Soler and Luke Jackson. And here's the tweet. It's a quote from Farhan Zaidi that was fresh from today. Quote, "We feel we have the best rotation in baseball." Who wants to react to that one first? It's a nice starting staff. They've got some guys coming back. Snell's been awesome, and I'm a big fan of Robbie Ray. But best rotation in baseball. So the Giants, A, think they've got that asset, Clint, and B, must have not thought there's much to do with the offense either, because as far as I saw, I think Mark Canha was the big return for them. And this is not a perfect team.
Hey, you can call yourself having the best starting rotation in baseball. It doesn't mean much when you're not going to see it in the postseason. And the Giants are not going to make the postseason unless something goes really magically well for them. So that's where I'm at on that. We should add, we got more news breaking here during Dodgers territory. The Dodgers tweeting out to make room for Kiermaier and Flaherty. Unexpectedly for me, the Dodgers have designated for assignment Gus Varland and Nick Ramirez, a couple of guys off the 40-man roster that didn't really make a lot of sense on this roster. And Scott, we've been talking about that. Scotty G, we've been talking about the fact that the 40-man roster was going to be a big problem for this team, and we're kind of seeing some of it here and more of it coming. But for now, the Dodgers got you could argue the best starting rotation now. Sorry, Giants. I'll let you kind of piggyback on all of that, Scotty G. Too many Scots in here for me today, guys.
Agreed.
A little bit. I mean, I'd like to just stick with Flaherty. I want to talk, right with Scotty B about what he was going off. I'm a big fan of Jack Flaherty. Clint, you and I have spoke about Jack a number of times. We've linked up. His 32% strikeout rate's the best number of his career. Thanks to improved command, he's got a big time feel. His secondary stuff, and if he, I think, had 4 more innings, he'd have the 3rd best expected FIP in Major League Baseball. This is a guy who is doing it himself on a Tigers team that doesn't have much going for him. A lot of high hopes. But now you're getting him into a Dodgers organization. He's going to be able to work with the front office staff there. They look to buff their defense. So things are going to get better for Jack Flaherty. He gets to come right back home. I want to, just kind of align with some of the question marks that the Dodgers rotation has had. And that a main reason for going out and getting a front end guy was just because there's so many questions about the health of their starting staff. You don't know what you're getting with Yamamoto. He's just started throwing program 2 weeks ago. So if you have Glass now already in an innings territory where he hasn't been, Gavin Stone, same thing. You needed somebody else. Yep. And then behind them, who else you got? I got a bunch of rookies who have shown flashes, and then Clayton Kershaw, Bobby Miller, Walker Buehler, who just all need to kind of prove themselves. Kershaw's look good, though. But again, I feel, for me, starting pitchers was A1, and they've got a rotation now that I feel comfortable with.
Bronny, I want to ask you about this because we've seen some of these guys too. Even this weekend, Robleski, River Ryan, the fact that the Dodgers were able to hold on to this, were you getting the feeling during FT that people feel once again, hey, Andrew Fleeceman at it? Because you look at some of what Houston had to give up to Gucci, the Dodgers gave up scraps. With all due respect to Thyron Lorenzo and the other kid whose name escaped me, Trey Sweeney, the Dodgers gave up nothing to get the best starter available.
Yeah, and that was a theme really for this entire trade season. I think you're seeing it more and more come to a surface here where the value of high-level prospects is so damn high, so many of them at the highest level. I'm not talking about mid-tier. I'm talking about like your top 3 in your org if you have a good org. It's too high to trade away. Right? It's worth too much. Those players make literally nothing compared to how major leaguers get paid deeper into their career. You're making six figures in a league that's a $15 billion revenue league. So it's just too valuable to trade those players away. I just did Hot Sheet, our Baseball America show as well, right after Foul Territory, and we were going all over all the prospect returns. They were saying how this was the first time, I think in a minute, that there haven't been any top 100 prospects that were even moved. And that's just telling you how teams are hugging their prospects and they don't care. They'd rather not get a player. But if everybody's holding tight like that, which reminds me of free agency, where some teams are just like, yeah, we're not going for that price for certain free agents. We saw it this year. Then what happens? The prices go down. And so that's where the Dodgers are able to capitalize and say, okay, we're going down to the second tier. Like, call me back when you're there, because we can still be competitive there. And that's how they get someone like Jack Flaherty. So I agree with you. Kikuchi was looked at as the prime return of trade season in terms of what he was worth. I'm not saying he's the best prospect. Those were the best prospects going back, although some people really love Jake Blass. And on that last show, they said they wouldn't have even traded that one player alone, let alone all three in that deal for Toronto. So they put that in a little bit of an outlier category. But to sum it up, Clint, you're right. They didn't give up much for Flaherty that's going to burn them long term. And I thought the 3-team trade the other day between the Cardinals, the Dodgers, and the White Sox was stupid lopsided, okay? The Dodgers crushed it. They got Tommy Edman, if he's healthy, and I believe that they've been scouting him well. Great. This is an average bat who plays above average defense everywhere. Right? And he's a gamer. So there's risk because you don't know what he's going to look like when he comes back soon, but that's great. Dude, Kopech can pitch high leverage innings for you in the playoffs. Okay. And he's turned a corner too in the last few weeks. He made some adjustments with his cutter. So that's all great. And then the Cardinals crushed that trade too. Eric Fetty, I think, has been one of the best pitchers in baseball this year. I was shocked that they barely had to give anything up for him. And then, of course, Tommy Pham can help you out against lefties. They needed that. The White Sox are going to look back at this particular trade and be like, we completely screwed ourselves over. We messed up here big. I think that's why they were a little hesitant today, too, because they got smashed yesterday for doing that deal.
When have the White Sox ever done anything wrong as an organization? Let's be real now. Come on.
I'm sitting, I sit 3 feet away from AJ Pierzynski every day. We took the best thing from them, and it's part of the FT fam.
I can only imagine how bad it is off mic, so we'll throw that in there. Hey Scotty G, I want to talk about some of these guys that Bronny just mentioned here, talking about Edman, talking about the return of Ahmed Rosario, guys that, on paper, maybe they're not the most sexy fits for this team, but it kind of fits the team needs right now. How do you think they play out? Is now and throwing in Kiermaier into the mix? How does all of this kind of work with the pieces we have? We've talked now for months about, you even mentioned the bad bench, the kind of struggle bus of the back end of the lineup, which has gotten better. Shout out to my boy Gavin Lux for figuring some things out. Bronny, I've always been high on Lux. Don't say otherwise. But how does this play out? What do you think it's going to look like?
There's going to be some shuffling. The Dodgers are attacking some of those needs, but I wanted, piggyback what Scotty Braun said, man. Like, Tommy Edman's just 2 years removed from being a 5-win player. He can play everywhere. Initially, before the Kiermaier deal got announced, I said immediately, I was like, this is a guy who can slot in center field, and you're getting a Gold Glove caliber guy. He's going to be a switch hitter. He slots right in there. Back of the baseball card, said he's about mid-90s, WRC plus, provides a ton of value in defense. And then they go out and they get Kiermaier. Okay, and now that opens up when Kiermaier's on the field. Edman can slide around all over, wherever you need him. He's played primarily up the middle infield. Already started his rehab assignment, DHing like mostly there in AAA, or on his rehab assignment, excuse me. Right when he's ready to go, he's going to slot right in. If they feel comfortable where he's at health-wise, and go ahead. Kopech, exactly that, Scott. Like, last 5 outings, he's been nearly perfect. Just 1 hit allowed, 9 strikeouts, no earned runs, and he's got another added year of control. So you've got Edman, who also provides you with a need now and for next year in case the Dodgers don't go ahead and bring in a shortstop. They've got one right there. They've got a utility man who they know their baseline is. And then Ahmed Rosario is just having a fine year. He's hitting over 300. 115 WRC plus. I'm just happy with it. He's a bargain. He's 500,000 the rest of the regular season. So they gave up absolutely nothing. It was just sad to let Vargas go. That's just for me.
Yeah. Well, with respect to Miggy Vargas.
yeah. Here, two more. You can answer them at the same time, Scott. But before you jump, one, are you satisfied? Like, do you feel like this is a roster that can win a World Series and give you a high percentage chance to get through the tournament that is October? And number two, are there any concerns that the Padres could be a pain in the ass to face in the playoffs if they sneak in? Because I know they just keep chucking away prospects. They're also really good at finding them. Like, they are able to restash the top end of their system. And damn, I will say this one I feel confident about. The Padres have a better high leverage bullpen right now than the Dodgers. I'm talking, if you take 4 or 5 guys that you trust in October, the Padres have the edge. They figured out one slice that they can win in, and that is a very important slice in the playoffs. So your thoughts there?
Yeah, no, you're on a good track. Same thing I said, right when the deal got announced for Tanner Scott, I said, you got to give a lot of credit to AJ Preller. He knows when a spot is, you got to go get it. Hassan Kim's in a free agent year. Jerkson Profar, he's on a spot where you cannot, disagree with what he's doing. You cannot downplay it. He's having a career season, and they've been hot. I've tuned into a number of Padres games and their offense just goes off. So this is a big series coming up with the Padres, and you have to respect what they're doing. AJ Preller, for as reckless as people think he is with prospects, he knows that a spot where his roster has, I've got 2 horses at the front, Michael King and Dylan Cease. And then I've got a bullpen that I can just load with the top guys, on the market. Tanner Scott, they made another solid move. Name's escaping me right now. Jason Adam. Robert Suarez, they've got Jeremy Estrada. They've got some flamethrowers now. So absolutely, Scott, you're right on. I believe in what they're doing down there in San Diego. I'm not going to discredit it and act like just because they've been the little brother for a bit, it's hard to forget what they've done. The NLDS exit, you have to understand what the Padres are doing. And at any moment, they've got an offense that can turn it on, and they've been doing it. So yes, absolutely. It's a concern, but the Dodgers just have to worry about what they're doing. And I'm thankful that Andrew Friedman addressed the needs that could absolutely hinder them down the stretch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good call. No, and with Preller, I mean, he's so good, especially on the international scouting market. He's just done that job for so long, even before he took over as GM, that he gets Leo DeVries, who's now one of the better prospects in baseball, and that was an international signing. So anyway, Scott, awesome to have you on, Scott G. It's been great kind of outnumbering Clint here with the Scott attack, but make sure you follow Scott's work, and especially on Dodger Blue. It's very simple to find. DodgerBlue.com does a great job there, senior staff writer. Thanks, Scott. Good having you on, man.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. You take care.
You too. All right, Clint, let's dive in a little bit here. So before we get to the rest of the division, I wanted to ask you the same question. Are you satisfied, Mr. Dodger fan, with everything here? And can I try and poke a hole? When we get to the playoffs, there's 2 pieces of the puzzle here. We know there's going to be star power, especially if Mookie is back and feeling 100%, all that, right? Are we satisfied with 4 to 5 arms that we really feel good about at the back end of the bullpen? Because really that's what you need. I mean, technically you can get away with 3 or 4, but 4 to 5, right? And then the bottom of the lineup. Do we feel better? Or do you feel like there's going to be points where you look, and if we can get through 5 of them, right, then we're good at the bottom? Because they didn't get like your Luis Robert.
Yeah. I mean, even so, Lou Bob kind of fallen off in recent weeks. I think they did the best with what was available out there. The whole, I've said it a bunch of times over the last 2 days. They raised the floor, and I think that's an important thing they needed to do. It brings competition back internally too on the roster as well. It's not just, hey, Chris Taylor, you could sit around hitting $160 all year, or Kike Hernandez, same thing, or Gavin Lux, same thing. Now there's some challengers there that want as much playing time as you're earning. So I like that happening that kind of internal dynamic, but it also protects against, we don't know if Max Muncy's coming back. We feel pretty confident that Mookie Betts is coming back. We feel pretty confident that Miguel Rojas is coming back. So all of these pieces now, again, it just injects that competition to the team, to the organization, lights a fire under everybody's ass, which I think is very important for this club that we've seen enter the last couple of postseasons pretty freaking stagnant. So if we're talking about roster there, you got a lot of protection. And then in the bullpen, a massive factor right now is getting Evan Phillips back online, back on the right track. He has been rough. I'm not going to say it was since he joined us on Dodgers territory, but maybe we did a little something to break him. I kid. But if things don't work out with the guys you have in the bullpen, they could plug in this Justin Robleski kid. They could plug in River Ryan, two dudes who have looked exceptional, who maybe we're going to be piggyback guys. Maybe we're going to be getting you some starting innings, but now all of a sudden you have a wealth of options that can get you some dominant innings, either single innings, multiple innings late in games. And we've seen in recent years, that's the type of stuff that wins you championships. As somebody that's willing to kind of pitch out of their comfort zone and give the team everything it has, either in one inning, 3 innings, or whatever it may be. So again, working with what was available out there, I love what Andrew Friedman did, adding Edman, Rosario. I'm a little less bullish on Kopech, but I'm willing to trust him working in the Mark Pryor lab. And then same with Jack Flaherty, throwing that in there where if Yamamoto doesn't come back, you got some insurance there. If Stone runs out of gas, you got some insurance there. So very, very good moves. Very good moves for this organization.
Running through a few questions here in the chat before we jump. Some people are asking who could be active tonight of the newbies. I think it's just Ahmed Rosario. I mean, obviously anybody from today, like Kiermaier's not getting here in 5 seconds unless they came up with, like, I was on all day today. I don't know if they came up with some new device where you can teleport, world's moving fast, but I don't think so. Right. So no Kiermaier. Yeah. We'll figure out when Flaherty is going to stack into the rotation. There was some chatter too a little bit earlier about what the team is going to do with both Bobby Miller and Walker Buehler. There were some fans saying, throw them both in the bullpen. I think that would be a pretty tough call on Buehler. Maybe you can get away with that with Bobby. I don't know. What are you hearing, or what have you been following with those two, and what do you think happens?
Well, Buehler, I'm lost on Buehler, and I think he is as well. I'll give him another couple of AAA starts. Hopefully they find something. They were trying to claim that the hip contributed to issues. Okay, wink, wink. I'll buy into that. But Bobby Miller is somebody, been covering this team for years, been watching Bobby Miller's career and hearing some of the stuff from prospects people, some of the stuff that says maybe his game plays better as a bullpen arm. So if you're able to get him as a 1-inning dominant dude that can hit you 103 on the gun with a nasty changeup or slide piece, whatever he needs, that just a 2-pitch pitcher, 1 inning back into the bullpen, that's something that I think the team really needs to consider with Bobby Miller, because at this point now, with this addition, he's probably not going to get the Jack Flaherty addition. That is, he's probably not going to get another serious opportunity to break this starting rotation this year. And then next year, it just keeps building up. Shohei Ohtani will be back. Dodgers probably in on Roki Sasaki, so maybe you need to either start looking at moving Miller or getting him in a role this year that helps with this championship window that's starting in 24. So it's kind of my take on it.
What's your playoff rotation if the playoffs started tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow that would assume.
No, that's not fair, because then Yamamoto's not in. Your playoff rotation, if we fast forward and it's October 1st or whatever the day it starts.
Yeah. If Yamamoto is healthy, Yamamoto's my number one, because what we saw in his final start in New York against the Yankees, hostile environment, that was sexy. That was fun to watch. Maybe it led to him, and that shoulder kind of barking on him. But it's Yama, it's Glasnow, and then after that, it's Flaherty. Or maybe you put Flaherty in the middle there. There's no wrong answer. And then after that, you kind of got to see, these next couple of weeks what Kershaw is. I think Kershaw, as your number 4 guy in the postseason, is not a bad issue. And if not, Gavin Stone has been phenomenal all season long. Last month, a little bit rough, but I think he's got enough sweat equity into the season where he should earn a spot. So you have all of those guys. Plus, again, what are they going to do with Robleski? What are they going to do with River Ryan? But those are my top 4 there.
I like it. Okay.
Better. I'll say it right now. Better than the Giants.
Exactly. That's why we brought it up. They're definitely in a much better position in basically every way, not to mention the standings. Thank you for the super chat at the buzzer here from Strokin on the Roki Sasaki fund.
Appreciate you.
We can certainly talk about him most weeks. I feel like he at least gets some type of mention. Clint kind of finds his way to work in a Roki Sasaki drop almost every show, which we love. All right, on our way out here, all Dodgers. I know you were hustling all day today. What else you got? Are you recapping some Dodgers Padres at some point?
No, well, yes, Thursday we'll be back. Actually,
Thursday.
Scotty Geirman will be joining me on Thursday on the show, 6 p.m. Pacific time. We'll be doing our monthly series. We've been kind of reviewing each month, kind of seeing what's changed from the last month. So there will be a lot to talk about this Thursday. So guys, come join us. And then, of course, Scotty G will also be live on Dodger Blue later that night. But tube in, all Dodgers with Clint Pasillas. That is this guy. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. If not, hit that subscribe button either way.
Yeah, if you're on this channel, subscribe and like, of course, but you should be doing the same thing to get more of Clint and really this Dodgers fam that joins these shows. Oh, the big man.
Jack Flaherty right there. He's home. Harvard Westlake's finest.
That is really cool. That's a great picture to go out with if you're listening to the podcast. Make sure you watch the end of this show to see a good pic of little Jack Flaherty waiting for his big moment with the Dodgers.
One last thing, we should point out, we did not trade Alana Rizzo for Scott Braun. She'll be back on the next edition of Dodgers Territory. So we appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Subscribe here, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the podcast side of the show as well. All of those things really help us out, and review the show. That's totally free to do.
Exactly. I'm one and done. I got traded for, I don't know, a host to be named Thursday, which is Alana Rizzo. This was fun. Clint, thanks, man.
Go
See
get
you
some
soon.
rest, bud. Okay, bye.